Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with lamb breast. That's right, breast of American lamb, a new cut of meat here on foodwishes.com, and one I think you're going to love very deeply. So here we go. This is our lamb breast, not to be confused with a rack of lamb. All right, I have two pieces, total weight about 3.4 pounds. And yes, it does look very similar to a rack of pork spare ribs, kind of miniaturized. You don't need to trim any fat off. Some people like to trim that membrane off the bones. I don't bother. And you'll see on this one piece that had a little thicker ridge of bone there. The butcher has made some cuts there to make serving a little easier. So just tell the butcher you want it ready to cook. All right, so I'm going to put my two pieces of lamb breast in a roasting pan and reserve until my spice rub is ready. All right, so in a mixing bowl, I'm going to take some regular olive oil, some dry Italian herbs, some cumin, some coriander, some black pepper, some cinnamon, some paprika, and salt. Okay? And we're just going to mix that up into a paste, and if it seems a little dry, a little thick, like mine did, just put another little splash of olive oil in and you'll be fine. Okay? So I want it about that consistency. I want to be able to spread this easily over all that lamb, which is the next step. So I'm going to pour that mixture on top of my lamb breast. I'm going to rub it in. I'm going to mostly concentrate on what we'll call the meat/fat side, and then the other side we'll call the bone side. So we're mostly going to put it on the top. Underneath, you do want to rub a little bit, and there'll be plenty, so don't worry. Okay? So rub it all over the top, spread any of the extra on the bottom. When you're done, make sure the meat/fat side is up, the bone side is down. At that point, we're going to wrap it tightly in aluminum foil, and that's going to go in a preheated 300-degree oven for 2.5 hours. Okay, so this does take a while, but it's worth it. Totally worth it. All right, after 2.5 hours, I'm going to remove it from the oven. So after that initial slow, low roasting, and you verified it's fork tender, we're going to cut this into serving size pieces and crisp it up in a hot oven. Now, I did mine the day ahead. That's why mine looks kind of funky here. You can do yours right away, doesn't matter, but you can definitely cook this ahead of time and then finish in the oven when you're ready to serve. So personally, I'm just going to cut my pieces in half to make 4 total. There's no trick here. Just don't cut into a large bone. I'm going to put my cleaver in there and get into the meat as best I can and then cut through. And don't be surprised, just like pork spare ribs, you're going to have a little bit of cartilage there. So use a big sturdy knife. Okay, so there are my 4 pieces portioned. I'm going to put that on a baking sheet with foil. And I'm going to take a little bit of the reserved lamb fat from the pan and brush it over the top. That will help crisp this up. All right, this time we're going into a very hot oven, 450 degrees, for about 20 minutes or until well browned and sort of crispy edged. All right, so while that's happening, we have 20 minutes to make our little parsley and honey vinegar condiment, which is perfect for serving with this rich, decadent meat. So I have a bunch of parsley I chopped, some fresh raw garlic, some lemon juice, some red pepper flakes, some honey, and some white wine vinegar. Okay? So basically what we have here is a very slightly sweetened parsley vinegar sauce to cut the richness and fat of this piece of meat. So this is almost like a chimichurri sauce kind of effect. Rich, fatty, decadent meat countered with a very lean, very herbaceous, acidic condiment. All right, so that's done. Set that aside. Our lamb has been in for 20 minutes. It has a beautiful brown crust now. And then for one optional step, turn the broiler on high and just broil the top for about 3 minutes to really crisp up that surface. Let me give you a close-up here. Come on, look at that. Amazing. All right, and you can see how much of that fat rendered out. This is a fatty cut of meat, but a lot of it does melt and drip out. All right, to serve, I'm going to put that on a plate. And I'm going to put a big, generous spoon of that parsley, vinegar, honey mixture over. And then, oh my goodness, this was so unbelievably delicious. All right, if you like pork belly, this is right up your alley. A very, very similar style where you have layers of fat and meat, very succulent meat, very rich, like I said. That's why we're serving that very acidic, sharp honey vinegar with it to sort of counter that. And like I mentioned earlier, not a ton of meat, but what meat there is, unbelievably delicious. All right, Truly, if you like lamb, you are going to go nuts for this. Come on, how awesome does that look? And at this point, I was going to take a bite, and then I was like, hold on a second. I need to get a piece of that crispy crust. So pardon the out of focus shot, but I needed to include that little amazing morsel on my piece of meat. And now, oh yeah, I'm going to taste it. And it was, like I said, fantastic. So anyway, you know I love my American lamb, and this is another very interesting cut for you to try out. All right, not something you're necessarily going to see at the grocery store meat department, but if you go to a real butcher shop, they will hook you up with some breast of lamb, and you will not be sorry because it's so delicious. So I really hope you give that a try. All the ingredients are on foodwishes.com, as usual. And as always, enjoy.